Howdy, howdy, fellas. Got a World of Warships Legends doubleheader today. Here I am, just what am I gonna play today? I like the ships I've been playing a lot recently. I'm kind of tired of. Like, what am I gonna do? I haven't played the Amalfi in ages. Let's play the Amalfi, sure. Checking out my turret rotation. I've gone back and forth between aiming systems and turret mod. You can see I've got Lemonnier and Lightful. This is kind of like a ghost build. Try to keep the gun cycling. I've got rudder on it. Concealment is still decent. The Italian cruisers have fantastic concealment. Anyway, so I've gone with rudder mod slot 3. Just as I've done in a few other ships, it's just more fun. I still generally think concealment is likely a better choice, probably even a better choice for me. I just like the rudder slot 3 on ships that you can get away with it. I generally like to try it if it's a ship that it like kind of makes sense. Just the ability to move around. The Amalfi is fast. The Italian cruisers are in general, and they kind of like tend to keep up speed at least reasonably in turns, partly because they just have that higher top speed anyway. They don't have amazing, they're not horrible, but they don't have amazing firing angles. Nose and stern are weak, but if you can get hits on the belt armor, it looks like kind of like lower and mid belt. It does have a squishy upper section. Anyway, they're just like fun to move around with. I played most of my time with the Italian cruisers with Membelli. I've switched most of them to Sansonetti just because the accuracy was starting to drive me nuts. Sansonetti kind of pulls it in a little bit. You get the like DPM commander build, grouping and dispersion bonuses. You lose Ingenious, but you get it's just like it's a trade-off. I don't know which is better. I like both. I've played mostly with Membelli. I'm using Sansonetti almost now. I don't think either is a bad choice. I have pros and cons for each. I don't have Aelzar. It's one of the few Azure lane commanders I haven't managed to pick up. And I've heard people say, oh yeah, she's just flat out better than the other ones. I've also heard people say, like, no, Membelli and Sansonetti are better, and, like, I honestly don't know because, full disclosure, like, I don't actually... I have issues with SAP. Let me say that. I've enjoyed the ability of the Italian cruisers to move around a lot, which is actually one of the reasons I'm super excited for the Spanish cruisers, because I think a lot of them are Italian hulls, but like a different, more standard AP, HE, although with rhetoric, whatever. The pasta shells, the sap, I've just had issues with, but you saw I got like a tasty whack on that Harlem in the first shot. But also, like, that probably could have been 20,000 with, like, a Baltimore or something, just because I tend to run HE first, or sorry, AP first, and like, yeah, like, I'm doing better with the AP already on this thing. The AP on the Italian cruiser shouldn't be underestimated. It has pretty good penetration, pretty good damage. So I don't know. The sap on the Italian ships, I'm glad it exists. I know there are a lot of people that love it. I'm not one of them. And this salvo is actually what, like, look, it's just like meh, 4 pins, but it feels like it's just not quite there. And there's a couple of times where we'll see, as this match, I think some in this match and some in the next match, some of those issues that I end up having with sap is like the damage saturation and, bounces or shatters. And look, there were bounces on that salvo. There's like a 10 to 20, there's like 10 degrees of guaranteed bounce, 20 degrees of possible bounce, 2 more bounces. Like, you really shouldn't be getting, quote unquote, shouldn't be getting a lot of bounces with your sap. I tend to get a lot. I'm sure it's an aiming issue. Like, my muscle memory and aiming points are all based on primarily AP. I mean, that's my go-to shell type. It's the most fun. It's what I tend to use more. So I'm probably hitting like deck surfaces, kind of horizontally, turrets, something, I don't know. I get a lot of bounces and shatters that I don't love. And then the damage saturation, and then of course you're already taking a pretty hefty reload penalty with the sap. So, main gun sap ships, I haven't, on the whole, loved. Yeah, so that's my feelings on sap. I want to like it. I know a lot of people really do. So I'd like to get a little more comfortable with it, but especially with the cruisers, that reload penalty. I mean, this thing's got like twice the reload of my Celtic. Like that's a lot to get through to get to the sap. So different ships, different strengths and weaknesses. Like yes, sure, totally admitted. But it's also like you get that super long reload, and like a shot like that. If I was AP, I mean, sure they can always miss, I can always miss, but like that's an AP shot. But a 13-second reload, like you're never gonna switch shell. I don't know. I have issues with sap. I'll stop talking about sap. Let's talk about this match. We had two kind of noodle brain cruisers come out over on this flank. My game plan going in is like it's a 6-7 match. Decent mix, only one destroyer per team. There is a carrier, but you know I want to use that speed of the Italian cruisers, and decent concealment even with rudder. Try to get on a flank with sap. I think I tend to still want those broadside shots. As I said, I tend to hit a lot of turrets and stuff when I'm shooting those in, and if I hit the hull, like it all bounces anyway, and whatever, yada yada. So, trying to still get a little crossfire going. Take out two cruisers. That hurt. Yeah, there was one shot on that. Collingwood, I was hoping he would stay angled. Like if I stayed sap, if he would stay angled, I could actually get an AP shot, but he did. He turned in a little bit. So I didn't get, I'm almost positive the Amalfi can Citadel him from that range, but I didn't get it. But hey, Harlem, you're just doing your thing. Ah, he gets yoinked. Bummer. I mean, you know, props to Sign Up doing his job. Like, we're all over here fighting it out, but I would have loved to pick that up. We'll speed this up a little bit. We're going to kind of head over to the other side of the map. We've cleared out this side. You know, this is pretty clear. Oh yeah, shatters and pins for 5k, like 4 pins for 5k. Shell damage is 5100. You know, that's again like that damage saturation, just like a constant thorn in my side. And I've briefly talked to people before that are good with sap. I didn't get a good answer. They like, I don't know. They weren't really like forthcoming with the secrets of sap. So, as an inexperienced but thoughtful sap user, based on my experience with it, I feel like the Italian cruisers are much better in a division. If you've got some spotting, if you have those alternate types of damage for when the sap isn't cooperating, or if you just do need like a fire AP, like just something a little different. That's my bet. Yep, more bounces on the Kaga, but like as he kind of angles away, you know, I'm probably hitting deck, and you know, I don't know. But anyway, my I do have a suspicion that the Italian cruisers are much better, or are better in division. I mean, of course, that can go over every ship, but I think these are particularly that when you can make up, they don't have sonar, they don't have radar, they don't have any of that utility, but they're fast, and the alpha damage is insane. Especially with these 203s against destroyers. I mean, yeah, like you can dev strike a destroyer with a Brindisi, not to mention a Venezia. It's legitimately a threat. So yeah, if you got something that can pick up the destroyers, here we go. Hi Hood. I'm pretty sure I can Citadel you, but three regular pens, fine. Here we take advantage of the fun maneuverability of the Italian cruisers to just easily dodge these. Probably could have done that in a fair amount of cruisers, but I just like the way the Italian ships move. They are fun to play when you can get out and just move. Again, why I use Membelli for a lot of the time, but the accuracy started to weigh on me. The Italian ships are also just fantastic looking, I think. Destroyers, fine, but not particularly stand out in my opinion. But the battleships and the cruisers just look nice, like long, narrow, clean lines. I just like the way they look. Oh yeah, there's the rudder. That's another reason that I did put rudder on this, is that rudder nog. It doesn't happen a lot in these two matches, and you know it'll come and go. Um, but I did have spans where I felt like my rudder was getting knocked a lot. Oh, here I realize I'm in line for a kraken. I'm just spamming my team like, leave the Kaga alone if I get one more shot. I assume I'm not going to get it, but I get the AP loaded to get that final damage, and then yeah, kraken. Oh, I forgot to mention the Baltimore and the Kaga both. Like, I saw some of that damage saturation from the sap where it's just like, I'd rather just be shooting AP. We get a kraken and 3700 XP. So yeah, for a ship that I haven't played a ton, and I'm not not necessarily a fan of, or I mean, I want to like, but I still just don't feel like I'm quite there. Yeah, it's a pretty good game. So here we start again. Are both my teammates AFK? We're just gonna give them a little love tap to help them on their way. This match starts off a little bit slow, probably because of that, maybe because of my shenanigans. So we'll just speed this up a little bit. This map, it's fine at the higher tiers. I do like that they're adding more maps to the higher tiers. I think that goes a long way for variety. We had a ranked season. What are we up to? Like 90 something or other? I don't even know. Tier 8. It's just like, oh, it's the same maps every time. Oh, and the game lies to me. It says I can make that shot, but I can't. I thought he was pretty close, but a liar. We were just a little conservative, especially based on the start on our flank. The Italian cruisers, I find, have fantastic burst damage against light targets. They have great burst damage against heavier targets too, but it's not enough to kill them. So if you just like YOLO into a cap in an Italian cruiser, I don't find that there's a lot of space to take out several ships. You certainly can. You get the AP, you get citadels, you get torpedo strikes, but the torpedoes aren't amazing. They're good enough, but you're not gonna full health dev strike a battleship with one rack. Oh, I pick up a hit there. That's nice. So I tend to try, and again, that I haven't talked about why I had this build, and again, I think I've played like 16 matches in the Amalfi or something. This is not a ship I've played a ton, and the rest of the line has been, hit or miss. So I'm not saying that my build is like the build to run, but the reason I'm running it is because of this sense of like, I need some time to actually wear down those heavier targets, and I actually need to be able to keep my guns on target and actually keep firing while I am trying to wear them down. So that's why I've gone with this rudder plus, I call it the ghost build, like Lightful and Lemonnier to get that detectability penalty down, so that if I am in a match with a lot of heavier targets, I actually have a chance to get my guns, to keep my guns cycling, doing damage over time, to be able to actually chip down heavier targets with more health. So that's why I'm running that build. And I don't know that it's that necessary in either of these matches. I think maybe a more standard DPM build with like Scott and Mbelly would have been more effective. There's not a ton of times where I am trying to do that fadeaway shot where I take a shot and disappear before the battleships can get their guns on target. These just aren't particularly dangerous battleship heavy matches. There are some battleships, but they're not ones that particularly threaten me. So build's not particularly, I guess, meta. I thought the Zara was going to sneak past the island, but he doesn't. The build I'm running isn't particularly meta necessary in these two matches, but as you can see, it holds its own, so I kind of like it. I might change it. I like to change around my builds. But yeah, so we're kind of just working our way through these cruisers that came into D. Our two teammates that I thought were just going to be AFK at the beginning have shown up and are doing some work too. And here comes the destroyer. So, we're kind of working our way. The A cap is hot. The what is this? D. This Wait, yeah, this is D. You know, they've captured D. That is a bit of a bummer that that Zara was able to sneak in and just cap it. But we'll rectify that. It's only a matter of time at this point. I mean, hopefully. Because it's a... Yeah, it was a Helena. We got the Yorks. Yes, I mean, these are all tier 6 cruisers over here. And that is one place where the sap... You know, you're going to get pins on most of the armor of lower tier cruisers. But, you know, you wreck those with, like, AP2. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not fully sold on the sap. There's so many times where, you know, if I was in, you know, Baltimore or something, I wouldn't be as fast, but I probably could have taken out these cruisers even faster with the AP on the Baltimore, so... But variety is the spice of life, and it's a different cruiser, so I'm just playing it. This Zara has been broadside a lot, so I am going to switch to the AP, try to get him. I'm like, oh, this Udachi is going to block all my torpedoes. What a pain. But Italian torpedoes are so slow. He still gets past. And you'll actually see I get a few hits with this. I'm actually pretty bad with torpedoes. Hey, Citadel. But I tend to like these like long-range slow torpedoes on the Italian cruisers, the black. What are some of the other ones? I don't know. I'm not amazing with torpedoes in general, but these I tend to do pretty well with. And I think I've thought about it, like what is it? And I don't have a full framework on it, but you know, I think most people tend to go like faster torpedoes are better. Get them faster, they're more accurate. Like you're gonna hit where the ship is gonna go, they're gonna get there faster, you're gonna hit them. But I've never heard anyone else talk about this, and I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure I didn't make this up all on my own, but it is something that I've thought of. When you make the torpedo faster, like it doesn't extend the range, and so there's like a threat time that your torpedo is in the water and threatening a certain like area of play. And the faster your torpedo is, the shorter amount of time that it's actually in a threat window. And so these really slow long-range torpedoes, you just like lob them out there towards where somebody might be, or like where the engagements tend to be. And there's actually a long time that they're in that general area that people tend to be. And so I think there's like an aspect of torpedoes that's like threat window that I've never heard anyone else talk about. Ooh, good whack on that split. And again, you could see, like, I was struggling to get my turrets on there, and sure, maybe the aiming systems would have given me, you know, one more hit, but I don't, like, would I have even gotten my guns on target before he goes dark? Like, I don't know. I mean, I really like turret traverse. I think turret traverse is, to this day, criminally underrated. Like, if your guns aren't on target, you're not doing damage. And sure, you can predict some things, but like, you know, there's going to be targets of opportunity that pop up, things that are sort of like, people are going to do surprising things throughout a match. I like turret traverse. So yeah, as I stated at the beginning of the first match, I put turret mod on these. I wish the Italian cruisers had just like faster innate turret traverse. I think that's a thing they could change that wouldn't make them, you know, just wouldn't go crazy with the damage. But I don't know. I mean, you know, maybe that just makes it easier to get the guns on targets on the destroyers, and they hit more shots, and like yada yada. I'm like, oh, the new protection saves the split. That should have been mine, but it's fine. The Atlanta gets a double strike, like, and it's his radar that's spotting a bunch of this stuff. So like, I don't begrudge him on that. Helena takes out the Iowa. Like, these guys really did a great job. Kind of handling this side and then coming in to keep things going as we go through the match. So props to them. They played great games. You know, maybe not as good as me, but no, but seriously. I mean, they're playing tier 6 cruisers in a 6-7 match, so I don't begrudge them any of that, and I absolutely will take competent teammates. Here, I'm holding my fire a lot. Like, I very intentionally was like, don't shoot, don't shoot, don't shoot. There's a couple of reasons. We're ahead on points. We are in like we're ahead on points, we're ahead on ships, we have tie caps. So if we don't die, like, we're fine. I'm hoping nobody else will shoot, but the Atlanta shoots, so he gets spotted. So I'm going to go ahead and take the shot. That I assume they're going to shoot at him first, but if they shoot at me, I'm more likely to survive than he is. But yeah, in that instance, like, I'm looking at my angle between the Bismarck and the Plymouth, and there's not a good way for me to get my guns on either target while having a good angle from the other target, plus heading in an angle that I like want to be headed, because I would actually love to get back over here to threaten the Plymouth. I do think he's our biggest threat. If he gets to come out from that island and gets to get shots on these two, tier 6 light cruisers, the Plymouth will take those out in like 4 seconds. That Plymouth has already done a decent job on this other team. Like, he is my biggest concern right now. And additionally, he can sink me. The Amalfi has, oh gosh, I think it's called an exposed citadel. That, like, the citadel, it doesn't have like a torpedo belt that sticks out or casemate armor that like overlaps the citadel or whatever. Like, the citadel, I'm pretty sure on the armor is like, please correct me if I'm wrong, but like exposed citadel right there on the hull. And so if he gets good shots, like if his shells pin, they're citadels. So yeah, so I'm very cautious about showing too much broadside to him, especially if I am too close. But we're far enough away, we take the shots, everybody's distracted by the other stuff. I'm going to open up and try to help them out. But that is something I have tried to be more intentional about, is thinking a few steps ahead and not just firing guns. Obviously, that's something you work on. Oh, more bounces. Even as a beginning player, you like, I remember my first matches of like, you play it like AI, like, oh, there's a ship, I'm going to shoot it. Like, the second you see it, you shoot it. It's like, no, that's not. But even later in the match like this, where I would like to get damage on those targets. I would like to reset them to get the experience to prevent them from getting the cap. But realistically, like, oh yeah, 3 pins, 2k damage. That's the damage saturation that I was talking about. That's annoying. Like, AP would have sunk that Helena. But anyway, trying to make those decisions where, like, yes, I want the damage, but it's not worth it. Like, the damage and the resets aren't going to guarantee the win at that point. And if we get unlucky, they might actually make it a loss. So that's a long-winded way to say I held my fire because I was being conservative and playing to win rather than just damage farming and experience farming, as much as I like damage and experience. At this point, this is a guaranteed win. He cannot sink all of us in the time he has left. Well, if we were close to each other, good, but no, there's just no way. So yeah, I'm kind of greeting for the kill here. I'm keeping the AP loaded to that point of the damage saturation because he's low, because I've shot him a few times already. I'm concerned that even if I get a good sap shot on him, damage saturation is going to save him, and it's a Plymouth, so if I can get the AP somewhere, it will likely pin. So, we see him, and he is angled enough. We're going to have to go high and hope that I can get the shots off in the time that we have left. Ooh, and we get two full pins, and we sink it. Yeah. So that's the Amalfi. It's fun. That was 2 really good games in a row. I'll probably take out some more, and probably have some bad ones, and not play it again for 6 months. But pasta fagioli.